Hello, my name is Kyle Kinsler, and today I'm going to be doing a live demonstration of my final year software development project. So, firstly, what is Kyle Connect? Kyle Connect is a platform for people to communicate from anywhere in the world. So, I can be in Dublin and I could have a friend or a colleague in America, and we can seamlessly connect via Kyle Connect. So, let's start off by creating an account. So, we'll click on Join Now. So we need to supply our name, our email, and our password. So I'll say my name is Kyle. Password or the email is going to be kyle@gmail.com, and the password is going to be Kyle. So we're going to sign up. And then if we look at the database, we see that we have a username of kyle@gmail.com, and the password is hashed. Okay. Now I'm actually going to make another account because we're going to need another account for later on. So we're going to call this guy Martin, and his password is going to be Martin. And if we go back to the database and refresh, we should have another user. So we have Kyle and Martin in the database. And as you can see, their passwords are completely different because they're hashed. A hash is completely different from another hash. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as Kyle, firstly. So now we are greeted with the user interface of Kyle. Now I would like to mention Kyle Connect is still currently in development, so this UI is not perfect at the moment. Okay, so we get a welcome message. Well, we get accept or decline for your answer. So when you have a pending request, pending friend request, you're able to enter in accept or decline. Then we get a welcome message. I'll come back to these actions in a few moments. I'll just go into some of these white boxes here. So what is a server? So in this section here, when you have created a server, it will be populated down here. So a server is a group of people. It could be a group of friends to have a conversation with. So you could create a server for football, and you can have all your friends or colleagues or whatever in that server, and you can talk about football. Servers you've been added to. So let's say you haven't specifically created a server yourself, but you have a friend or a colleague that has created a server. Under this section, if you have been added to a server, it will show you what server you've been added to. And then you can go into that server and you can message and talk seamlessly. Under the messages section, if once you have sent a message or have received a message from a friend, this will be populated under this part of the user interface. Under the friends section, once you have once a friend has accepted a friend request or whatever, your friends will be populated under here. And then pending friend requests, if you have any pending friend requests, it will show who has sent the request under this section. So let's start off by going off and sending a friend request. Now so I'm logged in as Kyle, and I'm going to be using Martin as kind of my demo for my project. So we're going to send a friend request. So we're going to click on this, and we're going to add a friend. So enter a name. So we're going to add Martin. So we're going to send a friend request to Martin, and our friend request is being sent. Now, I'd like to bring your attention to, I have another table in my database called friend request. And when I click into this, it shows that I have some data in here, obviously. So who has sent the request? So Kyle has sent the request, and what ID corresponds to Kyle, which is 614. Who is this friend request going to? Well, it's going to Martin, and the ID that corresponds to Martin is 615. And there's a status along with this, which is currently pending. So what will now happen is I will log in as Martin, and I should expect to see a friend request or a pending friend request from Kyle. So we'll log in as Martin. And as you can see, Martin gets the exact same user interface. It's just a different email because we're logged in as Martin and not Kyle. But as Martin scrolls to the bottom, he sees that he has a pending friend request from Kyle, which is entirely true because in the database, Kyle has sent a friend request to Martin. Okay? So Martin then has the opportunity to become a friend and make a friend here. So he will then scroll back up to the top and he will either type in accept or type in decline. So Martin is going to type in accept and he's going to submit his answer. So Martin has accepted the request. So if I come back in here, as we can see, it is currently pending. If I refresh this, the status changes from pending to accept. So now I would also like to bring your attention to, I have a friends table. And if I click into that, it now shows that Martin and Kyle are both friends. So if I come back to this UI here and go back, if I scroll down, it hasn't taken place because you do need to refresh. So if I refresh, what should happen is Kyle leaves here and goes up into the friends section. So I'll just refresh the page here. And as we can see, the pending friend requests is no longer showing Kyle because it is no longer pending. If I go into the friend request table, it is no longer pending. It has been accepted. And now Kyle, and also in the friends table, Martin and Kyle are both friends. Okay, so now what we can do is, well, we've created an account, we've logged in, we've sent a friend request to somebody, and we are now friends with them. So now what we're going to do is we're going to send a message to that friend. And in order to send a message to that friend, what is going to happen is Martin, who is logged in, is going to click on the friend he would like to send a message to. So Martin is going to send a message to Kyle. So Martin will click on Kyle. It will go like this. And then what Martin will have to do is he will have to come up and click on send message to a friend. And what has happened is Martin is currently logged in. So he's the person sending the message. And he's clicked on Kyle. So the message is going to be sent to Kyle. So if I do, hello, my name is Martin, nice to meet you. I send that message, I do send message, and it says your message, whatever you supplied, has been successfully sent. Now I'd also like to bring your attention to, I have another table called messages. So in this table, I have, okay, who is sending the message? So that's the ID that corresponds to Martin. The receiver of the message, which is Kyle, that's the ID that corresponds to Kyle, so 49. And the content, so that is the message that is being sent to Kyle. And then the timestamp at what time this has been sent. So what should happen is, once Kyle logs in, he should see this message. Okay? So we're now going to log in as Kyle. Again, it's the same user interface, and as I scroll down, I see that I have a message. So under the messages section on my user interface, it says Martin on the 7th of April at 5 to 3 has said, hello, my name is Martin, nice to meet you. So, and then this can continue. Kyle, and as we can now see, Martin, because Kyle is now logged in, Martin is shown on Kyle's user interface. And then the same process can continue. I can click on Martin and I can send a message to Martin, and once Martin logs in, he will see that message. So that is the messaging aspect of Kyle Connect. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to create a server. So if I come up to the actions section and I click on create a server, we're going to make a server. So I'm going to call this server called foot create server. So your server football has been successfully created. If I come back, I'd like to bring your attention to my database again. I have another table called server. If I click into this, it says that Kyle is the owner of a server called football. Okay, so if I come back and I log in, I'm already logged in as Kyle, so the server section, it won't populate then straight away. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to do a quick refresh, and once I refresh this, we should see football under the server section. And lo and behold, we do. So Kyle has created a server called football, which is correct because that Kyle has created a server called football. And what you also see is that I am now able to add friends and delete friends from my server. So I can add, for example, I can add in Martin and I can delete Martin from my server called football. And I'd like to bring your attention to this, only the owner of a server can add and delete people from and to a server. And if you haven't created a server, well then you can't do this. So what we'll start off is we'll add a friend to a server. So I'm going to click on add friend to server. So you get this user interface. So my friends are Martin at the moment, and my servers I've created is called football. So I'm going to I want to add Martin. So I'm going to click on Martin, and we're going to add him to our football server. So the friends you've selected have been added to your selected server. If we come back, I'd like to bring your attention to another database table I have, which is called friendship events. So this shows that Martin has been added into a server called football. So what now is going to happen is I'm going to log in as Martin, and previously Martin he wasn't added to any servers. Now when Martin logs in, he should see that he's been added to a server. And if he scrolls down, he'll have to refresh because that's not right. So there we go. Martin hasn't created any servers, so he's not seeing the adding and deleting. And as we can see, Martin has been added to a server called football, right? And he can also see the messages that he has previously sent, and he can see the friends he has. And he doesn't have any current pending friend requests. So what we'll now do is we will go back and we will log in as Kyle. And what we will do is I will delete. So I've added somebody to my server. I'm now going to delete somebody from my server. So just before I do this query, what's going to happen is we have Martin in our server called football. And when Martin logged in, he could see that he was added to a server called football. But now what's going to happen is I'm going to delete Martin from my football server. So I'm going to say, okay, I want to delete Martin. So we need to click on Martin. And I'm going to delete him from my server called football. And we get a message, your friends you selected have been removed from your selected server. And if I go back to my database and I refresh, that query is now deleted, meaning that Martin has been deleted from that server. And if we were to log back in as Martin, it should no longer show football. And as we can see, he hasn't created any servers, and it was previously shown that he was added to football, but he is no longer added to football because the owner, Kyle, has deleted them from the server. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to log back in as Kyle. I have shown servers, I've shown that messages and that. Okay. And I've shown the adding and deleting, and only the creator of a server can add and delete people into a specific server. We have added a friend, we have sent a message to a friend, we've created a server, and we have accepted a friend request. So that is pretty much most of the key features of Kyle Connect. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you very much.